Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Happy Good Friday to you all. Hope you folks are doing great out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your day, a great ending to your week, a beginning to your weekend out there. Here to bring you the latest information on what's going to happen weather-wise for basically your entire weekend. We'll speak on Friday into Saturday, a little bit into our Sunday also. After we do that, we got a lot of weather to come to kickstart our week next week. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday could all be pretty active. Now, we'll speak heavily on Monday and Tuesday, which I think will by far be the most high-end severe weather days, especially Monday. Monday, which is day 4 from the Storm Prediction Center, already has an enhanced risk, a level 3 out of 5 risk for severe thunderstorms in the middle of the country, and then has a slight risk for day 5, which is for our Tuesday, a little bit further eastward. So we're going to speak heavily on that. So if you only tuned in just to see what's to come, don't blame you one bit. Jump ahead, check out those timestamps. They're there to help you folks out. Everything's sectioned out very well. The same storm system that's going to bring a multi-day severe weather risk, potentially a high-end severe weather risk, is also going to have a winter weather side of this. This is actually uptrended also. So there'll be a section for that also for you folks, especially for the Northeast. You want to tune into this. You could get an early April winter storm in the Northeast. So we need to fine-tune all these details regarding severe weather, winter weather, and we will certainly do that. And we'll double up on some of these videos throughout the weekend into early next week, as I think Monday, even into Tuesday, could be big, severe weather days, unfortunately. So we need to figure this one out. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put those in the comments below, guys. You know, I might not be able to read them the day of, but a lot of people are reading them. I think most people know, especially my regulars, know that I'm not able to answer all the comments on the weekends. I typically get caught up with everything on the Monday after the previous weekend, but there's a lot of other people reading your prayer requests. Let's pray for one another, look out for one another. It's a great way to glorify God. So let's definitely do that. Let's get rocking and rolling. So the country as a whole, not super active out there to kickstart your Friday. We do have washout conditions we're waking up to, you know, in southern New England. You might be mixing with a little bit of winter weather. Let me know what you're seeing in like southern New England. You're definitely going to abruptly switch to heavy wet snow in sections of Maine. You're already doing it. It looks like this morning, mostly rain up in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia as of right now. But I think northern Maine, you'll start to see more blue as some cold air tries to catch up with this, and you'll certainly get some snow. It's definitely been active winter weather over the last week or so up here in the interior Northeast, and I think it's going to remain the same. In fact, you know, some people could wake up with a little bit of Easter snow in a couple days for this Sunday, and we'll speak a little bit on that also. We do have some snow flying around in North Dakota, starting to move into northwestern areas of Minnesota, and then there is some energy riding into the central Rockies, Utah, Colorado, and then we got a big storm system that's actually going to be what drives such high-end activity over the entire country over the next several days, and this is starting to emerge on radar basically off the California coastline. So we'll be speaking heavily on that. Looks like it's going to be a messy Easter weekend for you folks in California and the Southwest for sure. So that's what's going on out there right now. The Storm Prediction Center for today, there is a level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather for southern Wisconsin, areas of Illinois, and then eastern sections of Iowa. We do have a marginal risk, just a small risk of some hail and some damaging winds up here, but we definitely are going to get some thunderstorms, ridge beginning to build in this region, a little bit of a flow getting going, but this is mainly driven off just a piece of energy flying in from the north that's actually going to bring snow on the colder side of this. General risk of thunderstorms across the western U.S. in these green areas. Not a big severe weather day today at all, guys, so a nice, quiet day in regards to severe weather. Flash flooding issues. You see you got this area right here well north of L.A., this area way over here in the down east areas of Maine. So two different areas of the country well separated from one another. Slight risk in these yellow areas. That means you have at least a 15% chance of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles at any given point. So not a big risk of flash flooding today, but we're dealing with a lot of rain up here in Atlantic Canada and New England as of right now, but that'll begin to clear out. Watches, warnings, and advisories. There is still a fire danger down here in the southern high plains. The red flag warnings are up. Please continue to use caution when dealing with any kind of fire or anything that's going to cause a spark on the roadways. Don't throw your cigarette butts outside. All that stuff you guys should already be aware of, certainly out here in the plains when it gets this dry. We do have some wind advisories scattered about in this tan color. Flood watches continue up for the Northeast. Winter weather advisories for several counties up in northern Maine, with the rain switching to snow later today if it hasn't already. Winter weather advisories up here for northern Wisconsin. And then winter weather advisories for what's falling right now across areas of North Dakota. And then we do have a lot of alerts for the Southwest. California littered with it. Almost the entire state of Arizona has wind advisories. Winter storm watches up for the southern mountain ranges of Southern California. Flood watches up from San Diego, LA, Santa Barbara. High wind warnings up for the central California coastline. So, it's going to get pretty active. A pretty strong storm system is going to affect it's really going to isolate California. It's not one of those systems that's going to affect Washington to Oregon down to California. Really going to slam California in the Southwest with a lot of weather, and eventually this will drift into the middle of the country. But let's talk about today into Saturday. Today, it's a beautiful day in the Southeast. It's chilly out there, especially the further east you work. Carolinas, for example, I looked at my weather stations, 39 degrees this morning. It was a very chilly workout for late March standards. But the good news is it's going to warm up big time today. Some certain areas might not have a cloud in the sky. And we get into midday today. You notice there's no precipitation on the map in the Southeast. Evening, a beautiful evening if you're out and about doing things. We're getting into tomorrow morning, seeing a little bit of moisture up there in the Ohio Valley. And we'll speak on that here in a second. But for most of the Southeast, it's very quiet. Some showers could drift into West Virginia, Northern Virginia tomorrow afternoon. And then we start to see a little bit more energy up here. But I wouldn't consider up here the Southeast. The immediate Southeast is quiet through today, through tomorrow, and probably for our Easter too. And clouds, you'll start to see more and more clouds. Temperatures will begin to raise. Humidity will begin to rise as we get closer to Easter. But all in all, the weather will cooperate for sure. Now, talking about the Northeast, a little bit different story this morning. We got this low pressure off the coast of the Northeast. This will continue to spin around. This will hit Nova Scotia. But we still got a pretty expansive shield of precipitation on the western side of this low, this 980 low based off the HRRR. This rain begins to switch to snow. It might struggle switching to snow. I know I said earlier it will abruptly switch, but you might struggle at first. And then by the time you get into this evening, it begins to snow pretty heavily across Caribou, even all the way down to the down east areas of Maine. Could switch to some snow. Could fall pretty heavily. But by the time you are getting into tomorrow, about midday, the snow pretty much leaves Maine for the most part. We begin to see another storm system that moves in. And this will bring, let's back it up, this will bring some rain into the wee hours of the morning, Saturday morning, tomorrow morning into Ohio. Could be waking up to some damp conditions in the state of Ohio. This rain will make it all the way into Pennsylvania, even some rain down in West Virginia for tomorrow afternoon. And then we get all the way into tomorrow evening. We start to get some storms down here in the Ohio Valley. Guys, and I wouldn't worry, I don't think these storms are going to be very strong, very severe. Can't rule out a strong one, but I don't think severe weather is going to be a big deal tomorrow. But look at this snow up here in areas of Quebec and southern Ontario. And then this energy will actually kind of make its way into the Northeast, still in some enough cold air around. But this only goes out to about the middle of the night tomorrow night and Sunday morning. But we could be waking up to some snows across the interior Northeast to kickstart your Easter morning. So, not unheard of for sure, but the last day of March could begin pretty wintry. And we'll speak on this here in a few minutes. The beginning of your April could start off kind of wintry out here too. It could start out a lot wintry here in the Northeast. So snowfall between now and Sunday morning from this system we just spoke on, several inches of wet snow is possible up here, likely up here in northern Maine. Caribou could get half a foot of snow before it's all said and done. So South Central U.S., another nice day. It'll be warmer. It's warmer here than it is in the Southeast today. You got a ridge that's really bringing in a moist flow into this region. Very stable conditions, calm conditions. We get into this evening. We get into the overnight hours, getting into tomorrow morning, getting into our Saturday. Nice day for Friday and Saturday. Very warm. Humidity will begin to rise. It'll definitely feel like spring in the South Central U.S. So not a lot to really speak on. And I know it's been a very short segment for the South Central U.S. the last couple of days, but trust me, we'll be speaking heavily on this area over the next few videos. And in fact, we'll speak more heavily on it here in a second when we talk about the severe weather threat on the way. The north central U.S., we have a little bit of warm air advection ongoing in North Dakota, northern Minnesota. And if you're wondering what's warm air advection, well, when you have a ridge building in place where there's enough cold air on top of this ridge, warm, moist air is really trying to surge up. So this really sometimes creates very wet, moist profiles, which means where it is snowing in these areas, it's probably a heavy, wet snow. Not a lot of snow, but it's probably a very wet snow. Temperatures are very marginal, which is to be expected in late March, the last couple of days of March. But snow will fall in International Falls later this evening, northern counties of Minnesota. And this will get a little bit more expansive as we get into the overnight hours. Could deal with a little bit of freezing rain in this area of Minnesota right here. Start to see the development of showers with this low developing right into here. Starts to show up. And could definitely be dealing with some rains here in northern Illinois, Chicago in the middle of the night tonight, Milwaukee, Green Bay, just good old-fashioned rain with this. But as we are waking up tomorrow morning, it's raining in most of the lower Michigan region, Ohio, down here, scattered showers in Indiana. And then we got snow up here in the UP of Michigan. It's cold enough for snow. Waking up tomorrow morning to a snowy morning for your Saturday morning. And this will continue through the afternoon hours. Northern lower Michigan dealing with that snow as we're getting into tomorrow evening. And then we start to see another system that begins to enter the picture with some snow falling in North Dakota and South Dakota. So, forgot to pull up a snow graphic. Well, I didn't. I don't know what's going on here. Let's see. I tell you what, for my folks here, and we can do this actually. Sorry to leave you guys hanging in the north central U.S., but I'm about to get you covered here. Upper Midwest, here we go. This is how much snow to expect over the next 2 days. From this, just a couple inches of wet snow in the UP and Michigan. A little bit of snow also in northern Wisconsin. And then, 2 to 3 inches of snow in the far northern counties of Minnesota. And there is a chance for a little bit of ice. In fact, they're going a little bit more aggressive with this ice. I don't know if you're going to get this much. I don't know if I buy this, but it's going for over 1/10 of an inch of ice in northern areas of Wisconsin. And definitely some more ice up here in northeast Minnesota. So definitely 1/10 of an inch of ice. You don't want to see that, but hopefully it doesn't last very long, melts pretty quick. So we go out west. All right, it's not super active out there right now. We'll take a broad look at things, then we'll zoom into California, Nevada, and the Southwest. But here's what's going on as a whole. We got scattered showers, higher elevation snow showers up here in the northern Rockies, the Cascades. Same thing down here in like Colorado. Maybe a more congealed area of snow falls in southern Wyoming, northern Utah overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. You got light to moderate snow flying around across the heart of Wyoming, eastern Idaho. But look at this strong storm system spinning around. I'm going to zoom into this here in a second. But just taking a broad look. And, ridge begins to build. A lot of energy begins to fly like this around this ridge. It's almost ridge season, guys. If you remember from last summer explaining the motion around a ridge of high pressure, we'll slowly begin to speak on that a lot more over the coming weeks and months for sure as we develop more of a late spring, summer type pattern. But a closer look at my friends here in California. Ron, you definitely got a rainy weekend ahead of you. Not too bad out there right now. You don't know who Ron is. He lives in San Diego. But we get into about midday today. A lot of rain plaguing areas of the northern California coastline. Higher elevation snow in the Sierra Nevada. This continues. I mean, we could get some really just wind-driven rain in San Francisco. And then as we're starting to get into overnight tonight, this rain begins to get down closer to L.A. It's really starting to affect the southern California coastline at this point. But you continue to get a convective feed, rounds of showers and storms into even the northern California coastline. Higher elevation snows are really coming down the Sierra Nevada. A snowy Easter weekend for sure. But as we're getting into our Saturday morning, this is when the rain really begins to fall down here near L.A. and then starts to really take over Saturday morning down to San Diego too. We could have some rumbles of thunder and those things like that. And, we continue just to get, after this kind of main push of moisture moves in, we're getting into tomorrow afternoon, we could have just more sporadic downpours, some rumbles of thunder, flashes of lightning. Snow levels could drop where it could be snowing, and even some of these mountain ranges closer to the coastal regions. Check out the higher elevation snow falling late tomorrow evening in higher elevations of Arizona, Utah, Nevada. And this continues, and it only goes all the way out to about late Saturday evening. We continue just to get some kind of periodic rounds of heavy rain and higher elevation snow in these regions. So between now, though, and just the entire weekend, entire Easter weekend, all the way out until about Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, this is how much rain you expect. I mean, pretty much except like the northwestern California coastline, central, southern California coastline, 1 to 3 inches of rain. San Diego going from 1 to 2. LA, 1 to 2 inches, maybe a little bit more. And of course, if you live in those higher terrains that are closer to the coastline, it will squeeze out more moisture. Higher winds also. We look at the projected wind gust swath from this. You can actually tell where the higher elevations are based off this, where you can get anywhere from 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, but even down the valley regions, winds will gust 20, 25, 30 miles per hour. So definitely be aware of this storm system. That's definitely going to plague your Easter weekend, that's for sure. And but it'll be okay. You guys, I know, can handle it out here, but a lot of higher elevation snow, feet of snow in the Sierra Nevada. This is a pretty big storm system for sure. I mean, I'm talking about, 3 to 4 feet of snow in some certain areas. I wouldn't be surprised if they issue some blizzard warnings in some of these areas, but I wouldn't be surprised they don't either. But I mean, look at some of these kind of higher elevated regions here, a little bit closer to Southern California. You guys could get over a foot, 2 feet of snow also, depending on how high up you live or how high up the areas are. But definitely Nevada getting into some snow for sure. So definitely some active times, really beginning right now. Temperatures. Man, it does not take a genius to see what this ridge is, right? Ridge is beginning to build in. Temperatures rising all the way into the 70s into Iowa, the southern sections of the Midwest, Ohio Valley. But then, they kind of abruptly cut off, and it gets much cooler in the Northeast. A very chilly day, 30s and 40s in the Northeast. It's always hard to shake winter in the Great Lakes in the Northeast region. I've never even been up there. I think the furthest north I've been is Scranton, Pennsylvania. But just based off what I know, it's just very, very difficult to shake winter. I think that's why a lot of people say, Mitch, you would get sick of snow if you lived up here. So I could definitely see where you get to the later part of March, you get into April, and you're still and just stuck in the 30s and 40s. I could definitely see how that could get annoying, but I love snow so much, I would probably just deal with it. Great Lakes region, 40s. Pockets of colder air up here in Minnesota, probably where there's still snow on the ground from the last storm system, but just nice, warm air, no storms. Nice Good Friday across the southern tier of the country. I mean, downright warm across areas of the southern high plains of western Texas and areas of New Mexico. Stripe of 80s all the way up into Kansas. A little bit cooler, of course, in the higher elevations of the western U.S. So, all right, let's go on and talk about this significant storm system on the way. So we'll start it off, and we've kind of already spoken a lot on the western U.S., but of course, this energy will fly over the central Rockies in the form of higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain. But we'll start off Easter morning. Okay, Sunday morning, we got moisture. This is the low, initial low. Okay, and I say initial low because we could have 2 separate low pressures, maybe 3. Surface lows. So this is moisture showing up on the colder side of this. Not a lot of cold air to deal with. This first piece of energy flies. And remember, we have a ridge right in here. So this first kind of low or shortwave piece of energy flies around the upper portion of this ridge. And all this range that you see in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, this could be in the form of thunderstorms. There is a marginal risk, and we'll show you that here in a second. A level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather that could uptrend for the Ohio Valley. And this does extend into Ohio, which I don't have shown in here, but I will show you here in a second. So this green you're seeing here, rain, but also the chance of strong to severe storms too. Weather Bell Graphics does not do a great job of showing kind of like more stronger colors like oranges and reds and things like that. Pivotal Weather does a better job. It does not have as great graphics as far as zooming into certain individual geographical regions, but enough of all that. As we are getting into Monday morning, a stronger low develops, rises up, upper trough, digs down here, feels that ridge, this low begins to eject because it gets strong. Rain on the cooler side of this, snow on the really cooler side of this up into South Dakota, even northern Nebraska. This continues. We get into about midday. Let's go about to about Monday afternoon, April 1st. 999 millibar low flying across this region right here. Everybody north of this, well, especially on this side right here, is too stable. And of course, we got a couple things going on. All right. We got snow across the southern and central Rockies in Colorado and New Mexico. And we got moisture down here. So you got this low right here. All these little splotches of green down here. I know it's like, well, Mitch, that doesn't look like much at all to me. Those could be strong to severe storms. All right, with a low flying up like this, ejecting across off the base of this trough, this is pulling in a lot of low-level moisture. And of course, with this upper trough digging out here, this is bringing a belt of favorable mid-level flow, which is creating that kinematic ingredient for severe weather, the lift needed to really develop these thunderstorms. So with a lot of low-level moisture in place, and we're going to show you this here in a second, and the favorable wind flow aloft in place, of course, you get the overlapping of those over a very large area, and you're going to have a severe weather threat for Monday over a pretty large area. Well, at least have a risk of severe weather. And this continues, and we're starting to get into our Monday evening. We're likely going to have some sort of line of storms somewhere over this region. And then we start to get into our Tuesday morning, okay? And then this is when we can switch to the eastern U.S. All right, here comes our Tuesday morning. Ridge is beginning to flatten somewhat because it's starting to feel northern stream energy up here. So all this energy is starting to sag south. So as we are starting to get into our Tuesday midday, there's that same low. And you see all this green right in here? South of this low, it could be strong to severe thunderstorms. And that's why for Tuesday, you have a slight risk. And I'm about to show you that here in a second. So favorable placement of this low. A lot of low-level moisture coming into this region. Huge warm sector. Wind flow aloft. You got this mid-level jet screeching across this area. And you're going to have a severe weather threat for Tuesday. But check this out as we are starting to get into our Wednesdays. There are a couple things going on. One thing going on is you got energy down here in the southeast too, which I think there will be an ongoing, maybe a severe weather threat Wednesday morning across areas of the southeast. You got a punch of cold air coming down, about to kickstart a northwest flow. Could bring some very late season snow across areas that typically don't see it. So we get into our about midday Wednesday. This thing really turns into a crazy looking system. Got back end energy throwing in some snow for the lower Michigan area. We got this back end punch of energy coming down here. And you're starting to see splotches of blue down here. This is showing snow for areas like Kentucky, Tennessee. I mean, and then look at this. We get into Wednesday evening. This shows an incredible late season for April, the evening of April 3rd, late season winter storm, even for Boston. That's not a forecast. This will change. Shows a pretty intense winter storm for the Northeast. I mean, this drops down to a 964 millibar low next Thursday morning. But check out this northwest flow. This could bring northwest flow snow showers all the way down to the southern Appalachian Mountains. But man, look at this winter storm across the Northeast. I mean, folks, this would bring snow all the way down to Boston, like Connecticut, Rhode Island. And then this heads on off. Could be a big storm for Atlantic Canada. This could be a pretty significant storm system on the severe weather side and the winter weather side. So I just kind of want to show you the entire evolution of what we're seeing. And of course, this is just based off the Euro. We'll compare the model guidance as we move forward here in the coming videos. So this is the Storm Prediction Center. This is for Sunday, our Easter. Remember I talked to you about kind of a ridge building in this area. It's already building. It's already kind of there. Now, so we already have a level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather. I could see this uptrending, but as of now, just a marginal risk. This is not really driven off this upper trough diving down to the western U.S. This is just driven off some energy flying at the upper portion of this ridge, kind of together with energy kind of coming down with this trough. So just a marginal risk. We have low-level moisture building into this region. You're probably going to have some strong to severe thunderstorms across the Midwest and Ohio Valley. Not a big severe weather day. It's when we get into our day 4, which is our Monday, April 1st. Okay, we haven't seen this yet. I don't think we've had a 30% risk. We might have. Somebody will probably correct me in the comments if we have, and that's cool. Please do. But I think this is the first kind of day 4 or after enhanced risk that we've had so far this severe weather season. So you know that the confidence is high. So this is basically, like I said, an enhanced risk at day 4, level 3 out of 5. And this goes down, I would say probably Oklahoma City is going to end up getting eventually included in this, but this goes down from eastern half of Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, southeastern portion of Kansas, through the heart of Missouri, all the way to St. Louis. Includes Joplin, Springfield, Columbia, Missouri, includes Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Tulsa. And then you can't ignore the slight risk either. It goes from Austin, Texas, all the way over to Cincinnati, almost to Columbus, Indianapolis, Peoria, Springfield, Illinois, Evansville, Indiana, Louisville. So this could be a big day. And all we know, guys, with this, all we know is that there is a 30% chance of severe weather. I'm getting kind of everywhere. Okay, yeah. All we know is that there's a 30% chance, as you can tell, for severe weather within 30 miles in any given location. There's nothing sectioned out yet. We need about 2 more days for that. So what are my thoughts on this? I think all hazards are possible. All hazards are possible with this. There's nothing that really stands out. I do think large hail will definitely be a big threat with this, but yeah, all hazards. But then we get into that Tuesday threat that I spoke on you about here in the Appalachian Mountains. If you're a storm chaser, this will be some tough terrain to chase for sure. I've chased up here in Virginia and eastern Kentucky. That is a tough area to chase. But throwing all that aside, Birmingham all the way to D.C., all the way up to Columbus, all the way down to Roanoke, Richmond, Chattanooga, Nashville, Louisville, Cincinnati. Charleston, West Virginia. All you guys have a 15% chance of severe weather within 25 miles in a given location for Tuesday, April the 2nd. That's a slight risk at day 5. Okay, and we don't have anything for day 6. Predictability too low. But if you go down here, it says an upper low is forecast to move through the Ohio Valley on Wednesday as a cold front advances eastward into the Atlantic seaboard. A severe threat would be possible ahead of the front during the day from the mid-Atlantic southward into the eastern Carolinas. But it does, list some uncertainty right in here. So I do think there'll be a severe weather threat for Wednesday also. I just don't think it'll be as significant as of right now as Monday and Tuesday. So we talk about the main ingredients driving this. And this is very important to understand. But, I get that, people aren't going to fully take all this in. I get it. But I'll always go over the surface information and we get kind of deeper into things if we need to. But even this far out, there's a few big things you look at. The one thing you look at is moisture return. How high are your dew points? How high is the humidity out there? Do you walk outside and you're like, dang, it feels very humid out there. The mosquitoes are biting me, gnats are all over. Or you walk out there and it feels like a crisp fall day. So these are dew points. This is Sunday afternoon, 21Z, Easter afternoon. We got this sort of boundary right in here that separates some pretty moist air right into here and pretty dry air up into here, right? So you already have this kind of moist boundary. This is why you have a marginal risk up here. And there'll be enough forcing right into here for the development of showers and storms. Okay? But let's go on and get into our Monday. All right, we're starting to get into Monday morning. Look, you still got a lot of moisture all the way up here into the Ohio Valley, especially the southern sections of the Ohio Valley and southern sections of the Midwest. But look at this deep moisture building back here in the southern plains, the Mississippi Valley region, and just this region right here in general. And we start to get into about Monday afternoon. Dew points, guys, are getting all the way into the mid to upper 60s. There'll probably be some low 70s. So this is a lot of moisture to work with for a severe weather threat. Dew points are on the higher end with this. This isn't some marginal setup thermodynamic-wise. Dew points are higher end. Therefore, your CAPE levels are probably going to be on up there too. Most of the time, they work together. There's other things that go into it too, but most of the time, they go together. All right, it's even you're starting to get a lot of moisture building into the southeast too. This is a pretty large moist sector. And then we start to get into our Tuesday. This energy the moist air begins to kind of collapse with an incoming cold front. And then we're getting into our Tuesday midday, and you got dew points rising into the 60s all the way into southern Ohio, West Virginia, all the Carolinas, and then deep moisture down here in the deep south. But are you going to have enough lift to get thunderstorms going down here? It's always a big question. And same thing, we get into Tuesday afternoon, a lot of moisture down here. And then we start to get into Wednesday. I think the timing of this is a big question mark. I think as we're getting into Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, you still got a lot of moisture you're dealing with down here in Georgia and the Carolinas, but you can tell that it's collapsing. So you're really losing that thermodynamic needed for an appreciable severe weather threat. And by the time we get into midday Wednesday, based off the Euro, dry, stable air really moves in, and the severe weather threat's done for the entire lower 48. But timing could be different on the GFS. I haven't even compared it yet, just focusing in on one model as of right now. So because of that higher end moisture return, those higher end dew points, you look into Sunday when we do have some energy out there, and it's showing energy down here. But what I think is going to happen down here, even though you got Cape levels 1,000, 2,000 joules per kilogram on the south central U.S. for Sunday, I think you're going to have a capping mechanism in place that's really going to prevent really any thunderstorms from getting going. But there could be enough juice in the atmosphere in the Midwest, Ohio Valley to get these going, but definitely not a lot of energy up there either. And so as we're getting into our Monday, okay, you're getting Cape levels 1,500, 2,000 joules per kilogram, maybe even higher into this region. This is plenty of fuel right here in this region for strong to severe storms. And you're thinking, well, 1,000, 1,500 joules per kilogram, I've seen a lot higher than that. But when you mix this with what I'm about to show you here in a second, the kinematics, that mid-level flow, low-level flow, and then just that low-level moisture, and then the lapse rates will probably be supportive in this case because you'll have cold air nearby. This has all the ingredients for a severe weather threat. So I've always said you don't need high-end Cape for a significant severe weather threat. Some of the worst severe weather threats, like in the deep south, has been with Cape values around the 1,000 to 1,500 joules per kilogram mixed layer Cape value readings. So this is definitely supportive, and I know you see higher end down here, but storms may not fire because there might not be enough lift down here to get these storms going, maybe a little bit of a cap too. And then we start to get into our Tuesday, and there's that energy showing up over the Mid-South, portions of the Ohio Valley, and that's plenty of fuel. I know you're thinking that it's not big numbers, but that's plenty of fuel. Plenty of fuel in the atmosphere. And you're starting to see some energy into North Carolina, Virginia too. And then we start to get into, Wednesday, and there's still some fuel in the atmosphere, but it's not a favorable time of the day. 12Z is the morning hours Wednesday morning, but still could have severe weather into our Wednesday. We got to watch. So this is the kinematics, right? You see this, and I don't have my cursor up so I can draw on this, but you see how this thing is tilting like this? This is what we call a positively tilted trough. This is basically our upper trough. Let's just focus on that. So you keep this going. Watch how this kind of moves eastward. If it will please move for me. There we go. And this starts to move. This is what's going to bring all the weather into the southwest this weekend. But it begins to progress. There's kind of embedded energy right in here. And we're getting into our Monday. This energy right here, this kind of boosted mid-level pulse of energy right here is really going to bring kind of a belt of 80 to 90, 95, maybe 100 mid-level jet right over the south central U.S. Remember that enhanced risk is right over this region. So here it comes moving in. Plenty of mid-level flow, several thousand feet above our heads in this region. And we're probably going to have an associated low-level jet moving over this region too with an actual surface low right into here. Okay, but this is plenty of lift, plenty of flow in the atmosphere, riding this dip in the jet and this upper trough. And this continues all the way eastward, okay? And it looks like it gets kind of strung out, starts to merge with this northern stream right here. But you back this up and you look at Tuesday. This is Tuesday afternoon. Look at this 80 to 90 knot mid-level jet riding over the entire Ohio Valley and then the Appalachian Mountain Range region, the Mid-South. This is creating plenty of lift over still a very moist atmosphere over the southern Alps. So you got the kinematics there. It's there. And then this thing really gets going as the northern stream merges with the southern stream. And you're going to have some crazy weather that's most likely going to be ongoing as we get into the middle of the next week. Even after the severe weather threat's done, we could have the merging of the northern stream and the southern stream. This is what tries to make a very strong system for the eastern U.S. and tries to bring a late season winter storm for the Northeast. And we got to watch this. This could do some Wild stuff for sure. Definitely an active weather week coming up next week to kickstart April. And speaking of that snow, this is the signal for the snow, and we'll kind of back it up. Look at it Easter morning. There's that snow Easter morning into April 1st. Several inch snowfall mean across the northern plains, the Dakotas, areas of Nebraska and Wyoming. It weakens as it looks like the northern stream kind of shears it out, if you will. Not a very strong signal over the upper Midwest and north central U.S., but there is a signal. It begins to re-strengthen as it gets into the Great Lakes region. You see this? And then we start to get into the eastern U.S. There it is, where it tries to get a little bit boosted up right here in this region. And then there's that gigantic signal as we're getting into Wednesday into our Thursday for a significant winter storm across the interior northeast. I mean, there is even a strong signal down to Boston, guys. So this is a part of the storm we definitely got to pay attention to also. I think we got some wild times ahead, guys. Buckle up for sure. God bless all y'all. Y'all have a great Friday. Y'all have a good Friday. And I'll talk to you again later.